left him off their MVP ballot, claimed he shouldn't get the MVP because he's white and, he's getting this favoritism. And Lisa Salter said, hey, this is the first time this year I've seen him play. These are people very connected to the game. Jokic doesn't care about any of that because, again, I know I'm speculating, but I think he's laughing at American culture.
What's up, everyone? This is your man, your boy, CVMK himself. Follow me on Instagram at CVMK33. Look, we have an amazing podcast episode. It is going down. I'm so excited. We're going to be covering NBA ratings, Tyler Perry's buying BET/VH1, and Shannon Sharp's last show. It goes down here. No longer at the It Is What It Is show. It will always be It Is What It Is. But this is the Cody Kelly show. I look forward to bringing you the heat. Awesome. Look. A lot to cover. A lot has happened this week. I think it's safe to say that there is a turning of events, a turning of just kind of what is the status quo. Even in media, I mean, the NBA Finals has really opened my eyes to where sports as a whole is going. I want to cover the NBA ratings, some interesting findings that has shocked me. I was not made aware of this, had to do some research. A lot of stuff has happened in the business world, particularly in the media business world, the buying and the acquisition of BET. And then also the great Hall of Famer himself, to me, the greatest tight end that ever played, leaving FS1, leaving Undisputed with his last episode on the 13th being yesterday. So we got a lot to cover. But I want to start with the NBA ratings with just a quick, and I do mean a quick, word from our sponsors.
There's a hero in all of us waiting to be unleashed. All it takes is just that one last push. Activate the hero within with CVMK Global Supplements. All natural, steroid-free, designed to enhance performance, build muscle, and increase energy. You are unstoppable. You can do this. Become your own hero at www.cvmkglobal.store.
All right, y'all, www.cvmkglobal.store. Best pre-workout protein, everything is. Go to www.cvmkglobal.store. Look, let's get into it. So when we talk about, the whole makeup of where just sports as a whole is, I really have to cover this. The NBA ratings. You can only measure the effectiveness of something by quantitative/qualitative measurements, right? KPIs, right? Key predictive indicators or key performance indicators. If you can't measure it, you can't effectively say it's growing. You have to be able to have some analytical rule in place that allows for a certain value system to be added. So when the NBA Finals, first were going on and Denver unfortunately beat my LeBron-led Lakers, I was like, nobody's going to watch this garbage. It's the Denver Nuggets that, there's no prolific superstar. They have a lot of great talent. Joker obviously is a two-time MVP. But nobody that is really like, oh my gosh, Instagram reel, highlight reel, YouTube, Bleacher Report, need to watch, must see. They have high flyers like Eric Gordon, Jeff Green. They have great stylistic point guards like Jamal Murray. But nobody really of dynamic attraction. At least so I thought. I was confusing my reality and my desire, my perception with the consumers that are really supporting the league. And I've come to the conclusion that this is no longer a joke. Nikola Jokic is nothing to be taken lightly. It's not a joke to be dismissed or something to glance over. He has impacted the league in more than one way. Great article written by Josh Sim. Josh Sim goes to point out in 2023, the NBA has averaged 5.4 million viewers across all of its platforms over the last 5 years. That includes ABC, ESPN, and TNT. But this postseason has been the most watched in the past 5 years. Who was in it? LeBron was in it. That might be a factor. Giannis was in it in the beginning. Tatum. That's what we expect. But it continued. It continued into the finals, where they played a Jimmy Butler-led Heat team, and nobody on that team that was I would say top 10 player, a top 15 player. These are some interesting stats. 2023 NBA Finals, we saw Denver beat Miami in 5 games, averaged 11.64 million viewers on ABC. Traditionally, the game has had an average of 13.08, which is up 1% on last year's Game 5. The final game drew an audience of almost 18 million people, which means it's gone up. There has been increased productivity, increased viewership, increased desire from the consumers. What I think is happening is there is a turn away from what I say barbershop fans, right? They're no longer trying to attract the barbershop conversation. Who's the greatest? Who's the GOAT? All those meaningless arguments no longer are applicable in their business model. They're going after a global scale, no longer a local scale. The NBA is an international game. Viewership on ESPN was up 2% over last year. ESPN platform averaged 6.4 million over the last 36 postseason games. 2023 playoffs amassed 8 billion views across all NBA social media platforms, becoming the most viewed postseason ever via the digital channels. League Pass, its unique ownership and viewership climbed up 32% year on year, which shows you that the world is watching. This is no longer a Chicago, Atlanta, New York game. The team that won leading scorer, well, not leading scorer, but leading star is from Serbia. Its second leading star is from Canada. I'm trying the complete roster. You have MPJ, you have Aaron Gordon. The game is moved beyond the traditional celebrated athletes. The game has moved to a point of international marketability. And I've said this before, because the game is broader, it is more intense from a competitive standpoint of the selection of talent, not necessarily the physicality of the game. So the new NBA model has to rest upon the viewership and the demands from the global audience. What does the globe want to see? What does Russia want to see? What does parts of Africa want to see? Germany, India. Getting a star and star representation from these sectors is going to amass new viewership, new revenue, new opportunities for unparalleled growth. So if the league does not expand its teams and we keep the same 405 open jobs, guess what? It's going to be harder, because they're not going to evaluate you necessarily on talent alone, as market share and market draw will come a huge factor. And when it comes down to it, businesses will do what businesses do. It's no joke. I want to play a segment of Jason Whitlock's critique on this, and then I'm going to give my feedback.
Their purchasing power. But second, you want to come jerk off. Here in Minnesota, I got to watch KG's to a dogfight for darts. I grew up in the 90s, so we watched basketball play the last era of tough physical basketball. I don't think Jokic would have the same success that he is having now, statistically, in that era. I also don't think many of the guards would have the same success. I bring that up because this entire softness, this entire offensification, if that's a word, making the game more offense dominated, is the product of globalism. This is the resignation of the sports world saying, hey, how can we draw as many short-term gratification eyeballs as we can? It's the same thing with the alcohol. The alcohol was the predicate. The alcohol being sold, and I'm not for monitoring whether adults drink alcohol or not. All I'm saying to sports fans,
highly connected to the NBA, and either left him off their MVP ballot, claimed he shouldn't get the MVP because he's white and, you know, he's getting this favoritism. And Lisa Salter said, hey, you know, this is the first time this year I've seen him play. These are people very connected to the game. Jokic doesn't care about any of that because, again, I know I'm speculating, but I think he's laughing at American culture. And I think he's laughing at a lot of, without saying it, without being disrespectful, I think he's laughing at a lot of his competitors in the NBA that don't know how to play the game the right way, that have allowed someone who can barely jump over the telephone book, if they had telephone books anymore, be this dominant in this game because they don't know how to play. They're too high, they're too disinterested, they're too caught. Again, could you imagine? I'm sure Jokic, when they're canceling games over Jacob Blake and everybody's all these gestures and stuff like this, and this dude's like, I'm from Serbia, this is silly, this is stupid, these guys are always looking for an excuse not to play. And so when I hear the guy basically say, man, I gotta get home, that's a guy that's like, I'm okay.
All right, so there's a lot to unpack right there. So there is some truth to that. There is some real levels to what has been discussed. Something that I think we do have to bring up is the fact that Royce White, who you heard from earlier before Jason Whitlock, it brings up that because the game isn't predicated on superior athleticism or superb athleticism, I don't want to say superior, but superb athleticism, the focus of the simplicity of the game with the skill sets is really what gives them the competitive advantage. And because we've adjusted the rules where it's more about skill sets, a star like Nikola can shine. I would say yes and no, because I really think that if Nikola was in the 80s and 90s, he would adapt and he would adjust and he would be just as effective because everybody in the 80s and 90s wasn't super athletic. I mean, you know, Patrick Ewing was athletic until, you know, obviously the knees kind of went away, but he was more, to me, of a skilled big man. And he still flourished, right? You had, you know, Big Country, you had other centers and big guys that, you know, still had impact. I think the issue is, well, what do you do with a Shaq? Would they go at it? But Nikola would draw Shaq out basically, you know, 15, 18, 22 feet. So that's interesting. I think the real more pressing point is Jason is hitting it right on the head. Because Nikola is solely focused on playing basketball and his brand is just hooping, and there's nothing else you can draw from. He has no opinion on this, no opinion on that. I'm not saying that's right or wrong. I don't believe you should just shut up and dribble, but at the same time, because he's kept the main thing, it's kind of a shot at the modern day athlete. It's like, you made all this money, did all this, but you still didn't win. You know, you started podcasts, you started your own supplement lines, you've done this and you've done that. But I'm the one coming away with the rings. I'm the one that got second in the MVP and arguably should have won the MVP again. They just gave it to Embiid because Embiid basically made a smear campaign saying that they always overlook him. But if you look at statistically and where the team ended up, probably should have went to Nikola and he would have won it 3 straight times. If you take into consideration when it comes to just hooping, It's no joke. Nikola is showing the modern day athlete that you are going to lose it all if you don't get back to the basics of winning. I think we have substituted winning for the story, and I don't think you have to give up A to get B. I think supporting all these initiatives is so needed as a society. I think doing these things and these philanthropic aims, it is so needed, encouraged, inspired. But what makes you a great athlete is what you do in the, on the field, in the ring, on the court. And if you don't take care of that, the other stuff kind of becomes ancillary, needed, impactful. You'll win, all the awards. I mean, so needed for society, but the product of the sport takes a hit because you didn't keep the main thing the main thing. And Nikola, whether you like him or not, is no joke. It's all about keeping the main thing the main thing and not going above brand, So I haven't, it's just like this. I don't know one Nikola commercial. I don't know one Pepsi ad, one Coke ad, one Nike ad. I don't see him, doing Red Bull commercials or anything. All I see is Nikola play basketball. Afterwards, brothers come and hug him. Kisses his little girl, kisses his wife, and, gets ready for the next game. And his appeal to the mainstream audience, because it's no longer a barbershop issue, is he's safe. He's the athlete you want to see. It's just about the sport. And I'm saying this as a warning to our athletes, our aspiring athletes. You have to win. The other stuff does not legitimize you if you lose, if you're not consistent, if you're not great. He achieved greatness first and then started doing these things. It will allow the other things to become more validated from a public perception. If you value that, if you value winning, if you value that type of intrigue. But Nikola is no joke.
Over here to
All right, Tyler Perry is undergirding. A deal has been released that he will become the new head of the BET ownership group. That being said, since I think it's Viacom, right? BET and VH1 are under the same umbrella, same parent org. With this completion of this acquisition, Tyler Perry will become the new head of BET and VH1. Congrats. This is a huge step. I mean, this is monumentous. I don't even know where to start. Can you imagine somebody who was homeless is now the head of one of the most iconic media brands, and as BET and as VH1, everybody knows Bob Johnson. His wife started BET. Was one of the first, if not the only, black media company at the time. Sold it, I want to say, for $3 billion. I got to get the numbers on this one. Has not been under predominantly controlled minority group since, and now he's buying it. He's worked out deals. He has content coming, and I think you have to applaud the geniusness of Tyler Perry. Why do I say that? Tyler's vision is more than being famous. I think with every level you achieve success on, it's how do I really move from being the puppet to the puppet master and really allow my hands to get on the strings so I can make it dance, right? Tyler has built a brand that is global, that is a force to be reckoned with. And with this brand, I think Tyler understands that if you don't become the leader of a group, of a movement, something that could be publicly traded, something that has equity, that can increase wealth for so many people, and you start going through the M&A space, you'll always just be an individual contributor. One of the failures of particularly lack businesses is that we don't understand the value of collective movement, and that being coming together, mergers and acquisitions, understanding that we're paralleled, and therefore the combining of strategy and resources allows us to have a deeper market share. This was, to me, a big boss move. So doing something like this opens the door, because if Tyler now wants to, let's say when the deal gets complete, because BT hasn't had a news channel or news portion, an actual program dedicated to news coverage in 20 years? It's been over 10. It's been over 15. 20. If he wanted something like a Roland Martin experience, couldn't he just buy Roland out? Couldn't he buy the Black Star Network? So you got to think long term. And I say this to all leaders. Once you break through the door, your job is to open up the door for everybody else so that the house can benefit, right? But there has to be a coming together, because the truth of the matter is, some people will never get as big as Tyler Perry. But if you come up under Tyler, you can stand taller because you're standing on his shoulders, right? So this is land breaking, monumental. Shout out to Tyler Perry. Got to cover this. This is Shannon. Shannon left, and I want to cover leaving is a must to win.
And I won't back down. Welcome back to Under.
I started out with Stevia, and it started then with the jumpsuit, and you, and then bread, and then jumpsuit, and back to bread, and even her aunt would fill in sometimes. Guys, you've been amazing. To Nushin Faraji, who never colored my hair or given me a haircut, but had all these great ideas. I'm going to really miss you and how you mispronounce words. The wardrobe room, Otto and Tracy and all the others. Every day at 6:10, you would knock on the door. Can I help you with your cufflinks? Can I turn down your collar? Can I help you with your tie? Double tie, you did everything. I'm going to miss you guys, and hopefully you miss me as much as I miss you. Bonnie Lou in audio. You mic'd me up for 7 straight years, and it's been great. Sharing pictures, you show me your dogs, I show you. Bonnie, I just got one more question. What am I going to do with this 843 credit score? To all my stage managers, Johnny Lee, Karen, Craig, thank you. Craig, you've been unbelievable. You brought me my note for the last year. I want to thank you. Sometimes I get frustrated like, Craig, where are the damn notes? You say, just give me a minute. They haven't come through yet. To my producer, Steve Owens, we had 6 great years together, bro. I miss you more than you know. Thank you for how you handled me and gave me some great words of advice. But Ash, you knocked it out the park. I trust you more than anything. The way you can read me, the way you understand me, the way you say worded like this. There are times that I come up here and I'm like, we didn't talk about this, and you have notes that would help me in the debate. I'm going to miss you more than you ever know. Oh, my goodness. Who else do I want to thank? I want to thank the security. D, Cowboy Lover, Derek, every morning. You hug me this morning, I see you starting to wail up, bro. I'm going to miss you also. Anno, at the security front desk, I'm going to miss you also. Brent, my girl. Every day for 7 years, as I get up the elevator, you ask me, do I want anything? You would get me pancakes, you would get me bacon and scrambled eggs. And you would walk me down to my car. I want you to do it one last time for me, Sid. Give me some pancakes, give me some scrambled eggs, and give me some bacon. If I missed anybody, guys, I'm sorry. I just love everybody. I'm going to miss this. I'm going to miss this. I'm going to miss this. To the fans that made all this possible, you've embraced me and allowed me to become your favorite TV uncle. And for that, I'm forever grateful. You rock with me when you know very little about Shannon Sharp, the guy that can come out here and talk. Hopefully you found me entertaining. Hopefully you found me educational. Hopefully you found all the things that I gave you that you looked for when you came and you.
All right. So you get the gist of it. So Shannon is officially no longer with Undisputed at this point. And I get it. They were together 7 years, and let's just be honest, I think when it first started, everybody was like, okay, this is Shannon's first time really being a co-host. Obviously, he was a contributor on ESPN and NFL Network, but to lead segments, to really be one of the main anchors of the show. This was a first time, but Shannon did his homework. Shannon got better and better and better. He was willing to go head to head with Skip. He would bump heads. He created his own podcast and really invested heavily into that. And his podcast probably is more popular than Undisputed. And Shannon outgrew the show. And it really came down to a point of who was the alpha, right? I think this is a lesson in leaving is a must to win. It's not that you should look for opportunities to leave, but it does say something when you don't take full advantage of the platform, and when you understand that for me to really soar, there has to be a leaving of the nest, right? I think Shannon captures this perfectly. Understands that, Skip was the gateway in. He thanks Skip for the opportunity that Skip gave him, but Shannon could not be who he is, who he's going to be, if he kind of stayed under the same makeup as, under the same kind of guys under Skip. And it's nothing to do with Skip, but it does say something that you as a person has to understand not only your talent, but your desire and your will. Is this something that you want to do, right? Like if you're happy in the status quo, that's what you should stay up under, right? But if there's ever that inkling, and if you really have done the work, I mean, Shannon did the work. I remember when he launched the podcast. If you look at the first couple episodes of Club Shay Shay, he was like, but I mean, his lighting got better, his team got better, the cameras got better, the music got better. I mean, he licensed out. He uses Nipsey Hussle's "Grinding on My Life," a copywriter. I mean, he's invested so heavily to the point you could argue and say Shannon Sharp is one of the top 5 podcasts in the world, right? And he covers a wide variety. At first, it was just sports. Then he started to move to, pop culture. I'm sure he'll move into the political discussions next. But Shannon Sharp is a force to be reckoned with. I'm interested in seeing where Shannon's going to hit up, what his next kind of project and addendum, not addendum, but agenda is, and where he really wants to go. But I do think, this is a start of all things great and all things that are going to really set his career on fire. I mean, it's already on fire. You can't get any more on fire, but I'm really looking forward to that. But just a quick word from responses.
I literally just tried the best pre-workout on the planet. With Superpower pre-workout, you have increased focus and a power boost every single time you work out. It's not only packed with 225 milligrams of caffeine, but it also has citrulline and creatine. It's insane how much energy and focus I had during my workouts. If you're ready to take your workouts to the next level, then ditch your current pre-workout and get the Superpower pre-workout to be your own hero.
All right, y'all, www.cvmkglobal.store. Get it today. Look, so it is great to see this kind of upcoming, this flourish of just activity, of inspiration, of the transitioning. And I think that's, really where, I want to hone in on is that there is a shifting, right? I think sometimes in disruption, when the ground kind of gets broken up, there's this instability at first, and instability obviously causes, worry, panic, and whatnot. But what I am learning is that instability or disruption is the forecast for dynamic opportunity. So with that being said, I am looking forward. So, I mean, you got Tyler Perry buying BT. You have Shannon Sharp leaving. I'm sure they're going to do his own thing. What if Shannon Sharp joined Tyler Perry and a BT and he had his own thing? Ooh. You got to connect the dots. Plus, which was my first podcast, connect the dots. Plus, and I do mean plus, the NBA on a global scale. What if BET could start streaming games? See, that's where the business starts coming about, and it has to be about business. And you want to keep seeing amazing content, you know what I got to do, www.cvmkglobal.store where all the best supplements are. But I want you to look, connect with me on Instagram, cvmk33. It is what it is _show. It's on Spotify. Just put it is what it is show. But the new show's name is the Cody Kelly Show. I'm changing over a few things, getting some things trademarked because we got to go higher and higher. But until next time, guys.